So welcome to my Duel Links Aerial Assault overview, part 1. This video will just be covering the Blackwings, just because there's so many of them. I want to sort of divvy this up into two parts. It'll be Blackwings and then pretty much everything else. But there's so many Blackwing cards to cover that I want them to have their own video. So let's get stuck into it. So obviously, because there's just so many Blackwing cards that were released in the box, I don't want to cover every single one of them. What I did for this video was I did a little bit of background research into the TCG, and I had a look at, well, what was the popular cards in the TCG, and do we have those cards now? And for the most part, the answer is absolutely yes. Every single one of these cards is something that we have now, and that was used in the TCG. So that's kind of huge. Now, there were a little bit that were used that we don't have, but far outweighs the ones that we do. And how I determined that was I just had a look at tournament topping decks, both back when they were a bit more popular back in like 2009, when they was getting some first place, and up until recently, when they were getting tops but not winning tournaments, but they still had lists that were topping. I sort of took both of those and said, well, what are some cards that people are running in both those times? And I came up with this. So just a quick overview of all the cards. We have Blizzard the Far North. All of them are Blackwing cards. Blizzard the Far North cannot be special summon, so this takes up a normal summon. When this is normal summon, you can target a level 4 lower Blackwing monster in your graveyard and special summon that in defense. So this is your tuner. You can special summon a level 4 Blackwing, get out a level 6 just like that. It's kind of like Junk Synchron. This is Gale the Whirlwind. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Gale the Whirlwind, you can special summon it. Once per turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. That target's attack and defense become half. So that's pretty good. And that's a common theme with all these Blackwing cards. If you have another Blackwing on a field that isn't itself, just special summon it. There's so many special summonings in this archetype. It's kinda crazy. So we have Quiz the Crack of Dawn. You can only special summon Blackwing Quiz the Crack of Dawn once per turn this way, as regular as the other archetype ones do. Once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by spell and trap effects, so a bit of protection. Nothing huge for this card, just it's a level 4 that you can special summon. It's going to help for your Synchro plays. We have Orochi the Squall. If you control a Blackwing monster, you can only special summon it once per turn this way. If this card is sent to the graveyard as Synchro material, you can target one monster on the field and change that target's battle position. So if there's something big that you want to get over, change its battle position. What big things with low defense in this matter? Probably the Silent Swordsman. So the Silent Magician level 8, that's something that you'd want to get Sphere Karibo to try and beat over it. Most monsters have more attack than they do defense. So we have Shura the Blue Flame. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, special summon a Blackwing monster with 1500 attack or less from your deck, but its effects is negated. Now this is probably not going to see play just because things that you need to destroy opponents' monsters to get off their effects. It's just not very consistent. It's a level 4 non-tuner, which is helpful, but it can't be special summoned, and its effect isn't that relevant, and there are other level 4s that are better than it. So I don't think Shura is going to see any play. Not gonna lie, that's my initial opinion. We have Sirocco the Dawn. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can normal summon this without tributing. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can target one Blackwing monster you control until the end of this turn. It gains attack equal to the total of all Blackwing monsters currently on the field, except itself. Monsters other than the targeted monster cannot attack during the turn you activate this effect. So this is another normal summon that you can get all your special summons going with. And it's a fairly decent card. It gives a decent attack boost. It's a level 5, which makes it a little bit... there's some 1-star tuners that you can go into the level 6 with, but it's mainly going to be used for its effect and not be used to synchro off with, in my opinion. We have Blackwing Steam the Cloak. If this card leaves the field, special summon a Steam token. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute one monster, special summon this card from the graveyard. You can only use the effect of Blackwing Steam the cloak once per duel. If this card summoned this way is used as synchro material monster, all other synchro material monsters must be Blackwing monsters. So, I'm not too sure how it'll work, but I don't know if you can then tribute that token. I don't know if that's the point of how this card's supposed to work, or you can't tribute that token, but maybe you can still use that for a synchro summon. I'll be interested to see in testing if it can tribute the token that it summons for itself to get itself straight back on the field and do like 2 synchro summons in one turn. I think that'll be pretty cool. But either way, I think it'll see play. Although there is a downside that you have to normal summon. It's not a special summon for itself. It just special summons that Steam token. We have Vayu, the Emblem of Honor. This face-up card on the field cannot be used as synchro material. If this card is in the graveyard, you can target one non-tuner Blackwing monster in your graveyard, banish both this card and the target, and if you do, special summon one Blackwing synchro monster from your extra deck, whose levels equal the total levels of the banished monsters, but its effect is negated. So, it's a little bit tougher to pull off, in my opinion. There are cards that you could go into, so that's like a 1-star. Just to have a quick overview here, we have a 6, 7, and a 5. So you're probably not, or you could have a 6-star, but it's less likely. But if you just have a 5 or a 4, you could go into a synchro monster just by banishing the materials, and that could get plays going, but I don't think it'll be like a 3 of. And you do need to get this in the graveyard somehow, preferably without just putting it on the field. It's a little bit awkward, and as far as 1-star tuners go, you could say I could just use this. Well, Orochi the Squall is better because it can be special summoned, so I don't know about that one. Now we have Zephyros the Elite. If this card is in your graveyard, you can return one face-up card you control to the hand, special summon this card, and if you do, take 400 damage. That's nothing. You can also only use the effect of Blackwing Zephyros the Elite once per duel. So it's pretty big. It's just a once per duel effect. It's kind of crazy, but it can see a lot of use. There is just have a face-up spell on the field that you're happy to bounce and just play again. It's great. It could be a field spell. It could be the Black Whirlwind, which is an archetype spell. I think that'll see a lot of play just as a special summon level 4. We have Simoon the Poisonous Wind, which I think is an incredible card. If you control no monsters and have this card in your hand, you can banish one other Blackwing monster from your hand, place one Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap card zone, then send this card to the graveyard, or immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon it without tributing. Why wouldn't you do that? You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except dark monsters. You can only use this effect of Blackwing, Simoon the Poison Wind once per turn. During the end phase, send the Black Whirlwind placed by this effect to the graveyard, and if you do, take 1000 damage. So that effect can combo off with Zephyros the Elite, I do believe. If you just have this in the graveyard as well, you can just bounce the Whirlwind back to the hand, so you don't take the damage, then you just play it again. Because the way I'm reading that text is, during the end phase, send the Black Whirlwind placed by this effect to the graveyard. Whereas you're just going to be playing it normally if you can bounce it back to the hand. So I really like that. And what's great about it is Black Whirlwind itself is getting put on the field and resolving before you actually normal summon this card. So it gets put on the field and then you would immediately get that search from the deck. So that can combo off, and I'll have some combos later on. That can straight up combo off with Orochi the Squall. It's got less attack. You search it out, you special summon it. Bam, 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 bam. That's your level 7. Speaking of the synchros, some of these I wasn't sure about. I tried to get the most info I could, but now having a look at these, I'm not too sold on this in particular, but maybe it was just used as a level 6 to go into. I'm not 100% sure. So if this card attacks the defense position monster, it gains 500 attack during the damage step. Also inflict piercing damage to your opponent. That's not that great, but it might just be because, well, it's a level 6. We needed that level 6. And that could just be a stepping stone card to get the level 6 out to enable you to go into a level 7. That could have been what it was, because they had the materials for level 6, but then they couldn't make it work for level 7. So it could be a stepping stone card, considering how many special summons this deck can do and how many options there is. It could be more of a stepping stone level. Valkyrie, on the other hand, is the best, in my opinion, it's the best Blackwing card we have. If this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as material, it is treated as a tuner while face up on the field. Once per turn, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of other Blackwing monsters you control, destroy them. That's a great card. It's just target cards. It's not target monsters. It's not just target backer. It's target whatever cards they have and destroy them. I think that's a great card. Destroying things is a little bit in this meta, maybe. So it might not be like crazy top tier, but being able to potentially destroy 3 things once per turn is kind of nuts and kind of worth going for. Especially how easy and how spammable these Blackwings are. It's going to be crazy, I think. Valkyrie, the main boss monster of the deck, for sure, in my opinion. Now we have Sahaya the Rainstorm. Now, this text is quite small. Let's zoom in. If this card is single summoned using a Blackwing monster's material, it is treated as a tune-up while face up on the field. You can use each of these effects of the Salt Blackwing, Sahaya the Rainstorm, once per turn. So straight away, if it's synchro summoned using a Blackwing, it becomes a tuner. So that kind of lends itself to these lower level Blackwing monsters being more of a stepping stone card. If this becomes a tuner, you would only need one more 2-star Blackwing to get to your level 7, for example. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target one Assault Blackwing monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Guess what's an Assault Blackwing? This is also Assault Blackwing, so that's kind of crazy that if you just manage to get out to level 5, you can special summon this if it happened to have been destroyed, and that's straight up 2 cards already. You just special summon a third, or normal summon a third, however you did it, and then you've got your 3 monsters, pop 3 cards. That's kind of really good. You'll want this, even though you won't always be going into it. This will be your main target, but this can be a really good follow-up to bring it back on the field. During your main phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can banish one other Assault Blackwing, Sahaya the Rainstorm, from your graveyard, special summon this card. So I doubt you're going to have an excess of Sahaya the Rainstorm to pull that off, especially since we only have 6 extra deck slots. I don't think that second effect is relevant. The first line could be relevant, and this special summon effect is definitely relevant. That'll be really good follow-up if you happen to lose your Valkyrie. Great stuff. Now, before I get into these 2 traps, they weren't, from what I could tell, used in the TCG very much, if at all. However, just looking at their effects, I think they really have potential in Duel Links. I had a look at all the cards, and I decided to just land these TCG cards, but having a look at these, I couldn't just ignore them, in my opinion. They have a lot of potential. They might not see play because they are traps, they might be too slow, but they have a lot of potential. So, let's go into Anti-Reverse. If you control a Blackwing monster, destroy all face-down spell and trap cards your opponent controls. If you control exactly 3 Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. So, with Anti-Reverse, like, you could argue that the likelihood of them having 3 back row, all of which to not using when you have 3 monsters on the field, is kind of extreme, but it doesn't have to be 3. It can be destroy all face-down spell and trap cards your opponent controls. All of them. It can be you activate this and you just destroy 1. It doesn't have to be 3, but that's max value. And if you have 3 Blackwing monsters, which is really not difficult to achieve, all their back row is gone. That's fantastic. I think that's a fantastic card. And the fact that it has such an easy condition to achieve, to activate it from the hand, I think it's going to see play. I truly do. Next, we have Blackbird Close. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, send one face-up Blackwing monster you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then you can special summon a Blackwing monster from your Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. If you control a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon, you can activate this card from your hand. Once again, once you have just a Synchro monster and one other Blackwing, negate a monster effect during your opponent's turn. Now, that from hand effect might not be that relevant, because you'll want to do it on your opponent's turn most likely. That's when they'll be activating the monster effect. And Blackwing Dragon might not be that good. So the Blackwing Dragon isn't the best. It's level 8. It's a little bit clunky. But potentially, with a way of getting it out just for free by negating something, it could be a lot better all of a sudden. Because of its ease of summon, basically. You're pretty much just getting a free level 8 Synchro on the field. It's like Parshath. It's like you negate, you pay 1,000, except you don't even have to pay 1,000 for this, and you get that extra deck monster on the field. All of a sudden, that Air Knight becomes a lot better. So those are the cards that, from what I could tell from my little bit of delving and research, were used in TCG, and we now have access to them. Now I want to get into just 4 cards that we still do not have, so it's a little bit of a future potential delve, but let's just check them out. And I could be completely wrong. The website I was looking at was just, it had a lot of tournament deck lists, right? Tournament topping deck lists. And I tried to look at as many of the Blackwing lists as possible and get unanimous cards that were used across multiple different decks in multiple different eras. So, and if it only uses like a one-of in some decks, I tried to look at, is it trending in a lot of Blackwing decks, and if the answer was still no, I couldn't include it, but I feel like I'm pretty confident with the choices. So these were the TCG cards that we still don't have. Text is a bit hard to read though. Can it be special summoned? When this card is normal summon, you can target one of your banished level 4 Blackwing monsters, special summon it in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard to activate one of the following effects. Place black feather counters on one Blackwing Dragon you control equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. Place one wedge counter on each of the face-up monsters your opponent controls that does not have one. So wedge counters isn't something that we've been introduced to right now, and so they're probably keeping away the wedge counter cards, I guess. As far as the black feather counters, they're just something that can accumulate on the Blackwing Dragon when you take damage from a card effect, I believe. And they can be used to like reduce the attack of your opponent's monsters, but that's not that relevant. The main relevant aspect of this card, I think, is the special summon from the Banish Stone. For example, if you use Simoon, the Poisonous Winds, that's how you would banish your potential level 4 or lower. That is, these 2 cards are Full Armor Master and Armor Master. This one is unaffected by the card's effects each time an opponent's monster you controls. Each time a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, place one wedge counter on that opponent's monster, max 1, after that effect resolves. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter, take control of it. Once per turn, during your end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that have a wedge counter. So, this is where wedge counters come in. It's pretty much a good suck, and it then gets destroyed. So you don't keep it. And even though you don't get to keep it though, it's still just a potentially big swing. It is quite high level though. I'm not sure how we would ever go into it in this game, but I'm sure there would be options. Now there's just Armor Master. If this card cannot be destroyed by battle, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place one wedge counter on that monster at the end of the damage step, max 1. You can remove all wedge counters from your opponent's monsters to reduce the attack and defense of each monster that had a wedge counter to 0 until the end phase. So I'm not sure if this would see play. I'm not too sure how this effect works in practice, considering. You would have to, it seems a little bit too slow, which makes me think that perhaps it's a stepping stone to Full Armor Master, which is arguably the better card. Its effect just doesn't seem too relevant, so I think it would be more of a stepping stone card. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this is that great. Lastly, we have Kaluk the Moonshadow. During either player's damage step, when a Blackwing monster you control is attacked or being attacked, you can send this card from your hand to your graveyard. That monster gains 1400 attack until the end of the turn. So it's kind of not a huge boost, but in Duel Links, I don't think it's something that they will really see coming. Well, I mean, we see how good Alesta is, even though Alesta does a lot of other things, but one of its good effects is that 1k boost on discard. Well, this is a 1400 attack boost on discard, so potentially very good. Way of setting up your graveyard as well with a discard. So I'm sure there's many other Blackwing cards, but that's just sort of what I observed, and I might have been wrong. I'm not going to say I was perfect, but from what I could tell with those TCG decks, these are the cards that I landed on that were the most used. Now I want to get into some combos that you can do with these cards, just 3 combos that I came up with again, because I believe that Raikiri will be the main boss monster. I sort of centered it around Raikiri. So this one's a little bit more situational, just because you need to just have these cards in hand. They don't involve the Black Whirlwind at all, but if you have the Blizzard in the Far North, you can normal summon it, special summon a level 4 or lower, and there's plenty of options for that. Level 4 or lower Blackwing monster in your graveyard. This is a more situational combo, of course, but if you have just one of these in the graveyard, and you have the Blizzard in the Far North and the Orochi the Squall, that's an easy level 7. Now we have any of the level 4s in your hand with a Black Whirlwind. And that's all you need. Just any one of these 4 Black Whirlwind. You play Black Whirlwind, you summon one of the level 4s. That'll let you search out Gale the Whirlwind, because all of these have higher than 1300 attack. This is something we already have in the game. When a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your field, you can add a Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster. So any level 4 Black Whirlwind, search out Gale the Whirlwind, special summon this card from your hand once per turn, nerf their attack, go into your level 7, easy stuff. And remember that the Black Whirlwind is only on normal summon, it doesn't proc off of all these special summons, that'd be a little bit crazy, but we can do the Simoon, the Poison Wind combo, get at that Black Whirlwind, then this gets normal summon on the field. That'll let us search out Orochi the Squall as well, and that'll give us our 7, that's our 6 and our 1. Go into Raikiri the Rain Shower. Now, if you happen to have the Zephyros in your graveyard at that time as well, you can bounce, as I was mentioning earlier, you bounce the Black Whirlwind, special summon this on the field, play it again. And in the ideal situation, maybe you'll also have a Gale the Whirlwind in hand, and it might seem crazy, but this is only 2 cards that led to your level 7. This would be 1 card in the graveyard, and this is just another enhance. So that's 3 cards in your hand and 1 in the graveyard. It's a little bit more situational, yeah, but it's not the end of the world. So at this point, we have the Gale the Whirlwind, the Zephyros, and the Raikiri. That's your 3 that you can use to pop a monster that turn. Now this says once per turn, but I think it's just once per turn for this card. I'm not sure if you can pop off with a different Raikiri, which is kind of what this is all about, to do it more than once per turn for different cards. But we pop off with these 3 cards, and then you can sync it off, get this Raikiri out on the field, and maybe pop it again for another 2 cards. That's kind of, it's kind of, you know, these combos might be a little bit 1%, but it shows just the potential that it has. I think this is the easiest combo to pull off, because it's so, you know, it's only 2 cards. It's only any level 4 that you have access to. Just normal summon it, Black Whirlwind, search, 7. I think that's really good. So there's going to be so many combos with how many special summoning cards there are, just to get into your level 7. I didn't even cover, you know, options to go into your level 5 that can be used for follow-ups, but there's so many options. I don't think Black Armed Wing will see any play, considering that we probably will just use the 5 and a 7, in my opinion. And the traps are just really good generic stuff. I'm super excited. I am super excited. I think they have a real chance of being meta. I don't know how they're going to stack up against, for example, You know, Dark Lords are still up there, Fortune Ladies, because we destroy things, and there's still a lot of destruction protection, but it takes it to a whole new level, and it can be doing it once per turn. It's kind of extreme. I think it has a chance to be tiered. That's my opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Blackwing video. Obviously, we only covered the Blackwings, because they're such a huge part of this aerial assault box. But we're going to be getting into all the other cards. You know, there's Inzektors support, there's Invoked support, there's so many other cards that I want to cover. But I think that Blackwings needed their own video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.